A pilot and a poet once wrote about slipping the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. And that perfectly describes the lure of flying that is the core of AirVenture 2019. Over 600,000 aviation enthusiasts come every year to Oshkosh, Wisconsin to rekindle their passion for flight and their love of aviation's magnificent machines. I'm Bill Stevens, and welcome to TopCoat's Magnificent Machines, coming to you from the 50th anniversary of EAA's Airventure in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Today on the show, we're going to concentrate on vintage aircraft, and who better to talk to than Ray Johnson. He's the chairman of Vintage in Review, which is on display here at this fabulous event in Oshkosh. Can you tell us a little bit about the membership, how many people and how many airplanes are represented?
Well, right now on the ground in our area, we know we have 950 antique, classic, and contemporary airplanes. So 3 groups, and most of these airplanes that you look at up and down the line have been restored in some manner. It's amazing what these men do with their airplanes, men and women. These airplanes usually are frame-off restorations like the one that's behind you. And you're going to be showcasing them here in just a moment.
Essentially, this is the beginning of general aviation. De Havilland built these airplanes to develop general aviation. A lot of people think that the Piper Cub started general aviation, but that was in 1935. This airplane was built in 1925.
How about the restoration? Give us a little background on that.
So the restoration started 5 years ago. I really wanted to do accurate replica. I didn't want to modify the plane at all. I was researching a lot of British paint schemes that I liked. And then I found out about the Garwood connection. Now, Garwood was a famous boat racer. Now, when I found out how significant it was that this airplane was originally owned by him, I sought to get the original N number. And after about a year's worth of trying, I was able to get the original N number, which is N431. I think it's just so elegant. It's a beautiful airplane. For de Havilland enthusiasts, this is the airplane you want.
This is Howard Wright. He owns this 1929 Travel Air S6000B that's sitting behind us. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this plane has been continuously flying for 90 years?
90 years, since 1929, and that's what's unusual about it, and I've owned it 11 years.
About this time in aviation, a lot of planes were open cockpit, but this aircraft is different.
This was an early aircraft where everybody was inside. They wanted to convince people that flying was actually safe and a good alternative to taking the trains. And so this is a original factory furnished bathroom in the back. And so that and 7 wicker seats, so you had all the comforts at home. The second longest owner of this airplane was the Johnson Flying Service, which was a smoke jumping operation out of Missoula, Montana. We were invited with this airplane and 2 other identical airplanes to come to their 50th anniversary 3 years ago. And we gave the elderly smoke jumpers free rides, and when we finished one of those rides, the fellow thanked me, shook hands, and said, "I've had many takeoffs in this airplane. This is my first landing."
Harry, when people hear the term vintage aircraft, this kind of airplane probably pops into their head. It's such a classic style, isn't it?
It is indeed. This is a 1934 Stinson Reliant SR5. I tracked it down on the internet and it became mine. I was very excited to have this airplane. I won't say in my family, but which my parents bought originally, and now I have the privilege of owning it. It's a very unusual airplane. There are only 3 that I know of that are flying, and one of which is in Mexico City. It was Aeromexico's first airliner. And then there was another one in New York, and this one. I flew for Delta for 35 years, and I was a 777 captain when I retired. And I must say, this one rides like an airliner.
Our cavalcade of vintage aircraft will continue from here in Oshkosh right after this break, and I guarantee you, we're going to show you some old-timers you've never seen before on TopCoat's Magnificent Machines.
TopCoat's Magnificent Machines is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. And by TopCoat. Don't just coat it, top-coat it.
We are back on TopCoat's Magnificent Machines, coming to you from the 50th anniversary of EAA's Airventure in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Well, this is a 1938 Beechcraft Staggerwing owned by Ron Morrison of Chicago. And Ron, for those that don't know what Staggerwing means, what does it mean?
Well, it was the first aircraft ever built by Beechcraft Corporation. It's a 5-passenger closed cabin airplane, and the Staggerwing meant that the top wing is behind the bottom wing, giving it a negative stagger, allowing the wheels to go up into the fuselage. My dad was a Western Airlines captain, and sitting at the coffee table and said, my goodness, there's a Staggerwing for sale. We ended up buying the airplane in 1976, putting it back together again, getting it flying in 1981. And my brother and myself and my dad were all very involved in the restoration. In 1985, on the way back here, my dad had a fatal heart attack and passed away. Later that year, the airplane was destroyed in a hangar fire at Torrance Airport. We rebuilt it in his honor. That's why it's named Bill's Dream.
That must have been a massive project.
Oh, it was extremely disappointing to just have lost Dad a few months before and then to have his airplane destroyed. But we said, you know, we're going to do it one more time. We got it back here to Oshkosh in '91, and it hasn't missed an Airventure since then.
This aircraft is a true Lend-Lease aircraft that was sent to Britain for the British Royal Navy in 1944.
All right, let's spin the clock forward now, because the story of the restoration on this aircraft is really fascinating.
It is. The aircraft had been civilianized for much of its life, which was common with all these warplanes. And then it was damaged severely in an accident and brought to Riverside, where there's a group, it's called the Tom Watham Center. It's a nonprofit that takes in at-risk kids and teaches them the trade of rebuilding antique aircraft. They really gravitated toward this program, and they built this airplane in 2.5 years. Many of these aircraft take 10, 12, 15 years and never get completed. They're so complicated. Very, very difficult thing to recreate and construct. It came here last year and took a silver wrench, and best in class as a utility aircraft. Amazing achievement for these guys.
It's a 1939 Spartan Executive. It's built in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There are only 34 made, and 20 have survived. It was built by a small company owned by John Paul Getty, and his purpose at that time was to build aircraft for his oil executive friends. It has a cruise speed of 190 miles an hour, and it has a range of about 1,000 miles. So that was great for the executives that were flying in it. Considering the condition of the roads and the automobiles back then, what you could do in this in a matter of hours would take you a day or two to do.
We can see it has had an impeccable restoration. Give us a little background on that project.
I never intended to have a show plane, but as things evolved, I would make one improvement and then another and another, and one day I looked around and I thought, wow, I have a restored classic airplane.
Up next, we're still keeping it vintage, but check this out. Tony, I want to hear you say the name of this engine.
It's a Gnome Monosoupape.
A Gnome Monosoupape.
Monosoupape.
And this is a 1915 design, but this is a new engine?
This is a new engine. Yes, it was originally built and designed in 1915. Designed in France. The engine I copied was actually built in the UK. A radial engine, the engine stays still and the crankshaft turns. On this gnome engine, it's the other way around. So the crankshaft is still and everything rolls around the crankshaft.
That's a typical bit of Oshkosh's outlandish oddities. But don't go away, because when TopCoat's Magnificent Machines returns, we're going to show you a plane that has racing in its roots. Welcome back to TopCoat's Magnificent Machines, coming to you from the 50th anniversary of EAA's Airventure in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, the premier event for aviators all over the world. This is Rick Larson, Vice President of Member Services for the Experimental Aircraft Association. When somebody asks you, what is Airventure, what do you tell them?
You know what? Whenever that question comes up, it's always a tough answer because it's a number of things. It's, you know, by far and away the largest aviation expo that exists in this country. It's really become kind of America's aviation expo. It is the largest gathering of aircraft in one place. This becomes the world's busiest airport for a week, so it's a family reunion and, you know, convention that is really where it all started.
It must take an army of people to organize and execute this event, and a lot of them are volunteers.
Basically, almost all of them are. You know, essentially, this thing runs because of volunteers. During the week, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5,000 volunteers are on site here.
Give us some numbers if you can. How many airplanes? How many people?
So during the week, you'll see in the neighborhood of 600,000 people come through the gates. From an airplane standpoint, if you look at the number of different airplanes that converge on Oshkosh during the week, it is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10,000 different airplanes that wind up at Oshkosh or in the vicinity because of the event, coming to the event. So when you put all that together, that's Oshkosh.
Jim, tell us about the Howard. How does an airplane get the name Howard?
Benny Howard was an airplane racer back in the 30s, cross country and then on the airplane circuits. And so the Howard that we're looking at behind us is actually a spin-off of his racing plane. When he got out of racing, he and Gordon Israel decided to go ahead and design a commercial aircraft. And the first Howard came off the line in 1939. Most of these planes went to the U.S. Navy as either a transport type plane, an officer transport plane, an instrument trainer, or as in this plane here, was an air ambulance. But we acquired the plane in 2001, and it was basically a frame and boxes of parts. And a total restoration since then. So the restoration itself took about 15 years.
We were looking for a plane that we could store as a breast cancer awareness plane and a women in aviation plane so we can inspire women and young girls to get into aviation. It's the first one that I've ever flown. They're a nice, slow, easy plane, easy to learn how to fly, easy to get up into the air and land. So it is a good first plane for any young lady to learn how to fly.
How can you possibly restore an airplane in only 7 weeks?
Well, 16-hour days, and we didn't leave the hangar. Our tent was right there. We spent all 7.5 weeks right at the hangar, and we didn't get to go to bed until all the pieces were put back together. You know, it kind of stands out in the crowd because all the other Piper Cubs here are yellow and black, and we are very proud to have our pink and white plane among the 952 vintage airplanes that are here on the field today.
You know, one of the issues when it comes to aviation and aircraft is, you know, leading edges of the wings and how to keep them clean, right, Mike?
That's right, because the wings take so much abuse. You know, they're the leading edge where everything hits them, especially like bugs.
Oh my God, everything. Yeah, all the environmental fallout, you name it. The abuse is brutal on the leading edges, and that's where TopCoat F11 really shines.
It does, because TopCoat will protect that wing and make it where bugs wipe off easier, debris and fallout wipes off easier, where it won't adhere, it won't etch in, so it buys you time.
Yeah, and as an example, I mean, this leading edge was covered with some bugs, right?
Right.
And all I had to do is spray the F11 on it, wipe it in, buff it in, and you're good to go. So when this pilot's up and he's flying around and he lands, he just comes right back over, wipes everything off, and it's gone, you know?
So not only will F11 help it to stay clean and build more layers, it'll also make the drag less, so the plane's speed will increase, also the fuel economy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking performance, it's not just, you know, speed. I mean, you're talking fuel economy, you know, fuel burn rate, right? So at the end of the day, whether it's leading edges, whether it's the fuselage, every square inch of this plane, you're only adding and improving that performance.
That's right. That's right. So to learn more, go to our website at topcoat.tv.
There's a real TV star here at Airventure. No, not me. This is a 1960 Cessna 310D, and it was one of the aircraft used in the old television series Sky King, which aired between 1951 and 1962. I watched that show when I was a kid. I remember the open. Out of the clear blue of the western sky comes Sky King, starring Kirby Grant. That was one of the longest running children's shows on television for years. And this Songbird 3, it's a great looking relic of many years gone by.
We'll have more of TopCoat's magnificent machines when we return to Airventure 2019, including some planes at the extremes of the size spectrum. We're back in a minute.
TopCoat's Magnificent Machines is brought to you by Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radios since 1977. And by TopCoat, the best coatings in the world.
Welcome back to TopCoat's Magnificent Machines from the sprawling and enthralling EAA Airventure 2019. This event runs for nearly a week that is packed with flying exhibitions throughout the day and well into the night. You have to keep your eyes on the sky or you could miss out on what makes this aviation celebration so special.
Well, if EAA's Airventure ever gave an award away for the most unusual aircraft, I think Keith Brunquist's Boeing YL-15 Scout would be in the running. What is the story on this?
Well, Boeing designed this with only about a month to do the job. The contract that they were shooting for was let in 1946. This first prototype flew in July, I believe, of 1947. They only built 2 XL-15s. They were the pre-production prototypes. You always see the X. And 10 YL-15s. And this is the very last of the 12 that they built.
One thing you have to envy about Keith and his plane is the stunning scenery he enjoys in his home state of Alaska.
It actually has an 18-mile-an-hour stall speed with the full flaps down like this and full power. It will get airborne solo with one guy in it at 20 miles an hour. Best angle of climb is 37 miles an hour. You can actually get a 100-mile-an-hour cruise, and the red line is 200, which is probably straight down.
So along with the award for most unusual aircraft, it may get the one for the slowest aircraft too, huh?
Yes, you don't want a headwind.
You know, I'll bet that Boeing YL-15 Scout would fit inside this GE NX-2B jet engine, one of 4 on this UPS 747 cargo plane. 66,500 pounds of thrust on takeoff. You know, I'm kind of a horsepower freak. I'd like to mount this engine on that Boeing YL-15 Scout.
So we've spent most of this episode presenting you with the rare and unusual. So next, we're going to show you one of the thousands of home-built planes that really represents what EAA and Oshkosh are all about.
One of the most heavily populated areas here at Airventure is where the home-built aircraft are parked. It's swarming with aircraft either built by the owner or built for the owner by somebody else. This is Mike Stuyback, and you're the owner of this Vans RV6. Why did you decide that you wanted a home-built airplane?
Well, the efficiency really built. These aircraft fly faster and less fuel than any production aircraft you can actually buy. So they're very versatile, and they also have the ability to fly sport, aerobatics and so forth. You can fly upside down in them.
this appears to be such a simple aircraft, so I guess maintaining it isn't that complicated.
It isn't, and actually the rules that the FAA has allows the owner of this type of an aircraft to work on it as long as it's inspected by people with the proper authorities.
Time now for our Top Coat Top Pick. And the hands down and eyes up winners are the various modern military aircraft that dazzled the crowd here this week. Incredible speeds. Blazing afterburners. And gut-wrenching G-forces. It's all an amazing display of military might.
Well, we wanted to end our show by showing you two of the most formidable fighter planes in the American arsenal. First of all, the fabulous F-35. What a machine. But take a look at this. That is the United States' latest stealth fighter. Almost invisible. Man, the technology. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Top Coat's Magnificent Machines. I'm Bill Stevens. Hopefully we'll see you next week.